Greetings, folks. While South Africa's Foreign Minister Ronald Lamola deigns to insult the United States and defame President Trump with the aid of yellow journalism at CNN, the chickens are coming home to roost. A long-standing problem in South African society is rearing its ugly head yet again. The arrogance of South Africa's leaders and its foreign policy have been gobsmacking, to say the least, over the past 15 months. But now, the arrogant get their own comeuppance. South Africa's top envoy to Ghana summoned over attacks on foreigners. Ghana has summoned South Africa's top envoy to the country over reported acts of intimidation and harassment against its citizens and other African migrants in the southern African nation. Last week, video clips were shared online showing vigilante groups attacking and confronting people they believed were in South Africa illegally. In one of them, they challenged a Ghanaian man over his status. Now, we've seen this sort of behavior preventing South African citizens because they're white from entering public hospitals, harassment, and nothing was done about this by the police or by the hospital. Saw this in KwaZulu-Natal. This sort of vigilantism even attacks South Africans. The BBC reports that South Africa is home to about 2.4 million migrants, just less than 4% of the population, according to official figures. Now, a lot of them come from neighboring countries like Lesotho, Zimbabwe, Mozambique, and Namibia. They have a history of providing migrant labor to South Africa. But that figure of 2.4 million is grossly underestimated. There are probably at least 6 million illegal immigrants in South Africa, let alone legal folks who are there. So it's much higher than 4%, and this creates tensions. But xenophobia has long been an issue in South Africa, and it's often accompanied by violent attacks on foreign nationals. But now Pretoria is finally responding to a decades-old embarrassment. While the African National Congress and even the Economic Freedom Funders under Julius Malema preach solidarity and fraternity with their African brothers and sisters, the story on the street is far too often very different. Hatred of foreigners has long been a serious problem in South Africa, where foreign nationals are frequently blamed for South Africa's dismal economic performance. But that ire should be directed at the confiscatory practices and failed macroeconomic policies of the African National Congress, not outsiders. From demeaning insults so prevalent they even make it into popular culture, as one can see in the movie District 9, where Nigerians are depicted as gangsters, or to the police harassment of foreigners in the South African movie The Long Run, starring Armin Muller-Stahl, where police raid suspected foreign nationals' homes. Now, Ghana's diplomatic mission has told Ghanaians in South Africa to place the highest priority on personal safety, take precautionary measures during protests, which occurred this week and last week. Now, the advisory just a couple days ago strongly encouraged shop owners to close their businesses, to avoid areas where demonstrations are taking place, and not take part in public gatherings that could escalate into confrontation. Good advice, but people shouldn't have to live like this. Similarly, the chairman of the Nigerian Union in South Africa didn't know such a thing existed, to be honest. Olaniyi Abodedele told members of his community to close their shops, to be indoors, and not go outside. We're all very careful, he told the BBC services. We are in the dark because we don't know how our government is going to react if any of us is to be affected or to be killed. He's talking, of course, about the government in Abuja. Now, one man who had to close his shop said he wasn't happy. It is not okay because we are blacks, we are brothers. Everybody comes here just to survive. Well, if you're there legally, yes, but xenophobia should never be directed against you, whether you're legal or illegal. And the fact that you're black and your brothers means jack squat, as you're quickly discovering. A security guard who was unable to go to work because of the protest told the BBC it's not what we expected as fellow Africans. Well, that's because you're not the same. People who devolve everyone down into skin color really are, whether they realize or not, racist. Just because you're black doesn't mean the same. It's like black Americans thinking they can go back to Africa and they're African. They're not. They're Americans. If they want to be African, they need to go back and become African, but they're not African. And Ghana is a good example of this. So many Americans who are black go to Ghana, and the Ghanaians aren't always as well receiving of them as they think they should be. Yes, black like me doesn't mean black like me. Stop devolving people down to their immutable characteristics of skin color. It doesn't mean anything. United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres has condemned South Africa for what he called criminal acts perpetrated by individuals inciting violence and exploiting socioeconomic conditions. Well, in recent years, the rise of anti-migrant groups such as March and Operation Dudula have gained notoriety for their demands to kick foreign nationals out of the country and their attacks on them. In fact, significant political figures have also attacked foreign nationals, at least with their words. In February, South Africa's Zulu king, Mzulu Kwazwelithini, used a derogatory term for foreigners and said they should all leave, 11 years after his father urged migrants to pack their belongings. This is the state of reality in South Africa, attacks against foreign nationals, instead of blaming the ruling party, which is responsible for this travesty, in no small measure. The South African government plays a very strong role in allowing this nonsense to continue. And it is time for them to act. We've heard repeated comments from South Africa's leadership over the past several months about how they're a sovereign nation, how they believe in multilateral institutions. Of course, this is an effort to snub the United States and insult the United States, pretending the United States doesn't involve itself in multilateral institutions. But of course, the United States is involved in multilateral institutions, including the World Bank, which recently gave South Africa another $1.4 billion at the behest of the United States. Yet they continue to attack the United States foreign policy. South Africa, which purports to support international relations and participate in multilateral institutions, really doesn't. And this is yet another example of it. Another example of it. Never mind the helicopter sent to a sanctioned warlord in Benghazi, the hosting of terrorist groups participating in naval exercise, sending citizens to Ukraine to illegally participate as mercenaries in a war. The list goes on and on. Will South Africa respond to these comments from Ghana, from Antonio Guterres? President Ramaphosa says they're going to stop it and those who do it will be punished. But we've heard this rhetoric before and nothing comes of it. South Africa is a hostile place to foreign nationals, particularly if they're black. And it's not coming from the white folks or the color folks or the Indians. It's coming from black South Africans. That's where it originates, and that's where it needs to stop. What say you, South Africa? Mzansi? Cheers.